All right, guys, we're going to get to your full Raw review with Michael Gross, one of my favorite guests on the show, in just a minute, including our thoughts on, well, WrestleMania, which is less than 2 weeks away now. We are going to cover everything. We cover everything from AJ Styles and his approach and WWE's creative approach to this match with The Undertaker. We cover the fact that WWE is labeling WrestleMania as too big for one night, and also get into Randy Orton's promo and Seth Rollins' promo on Monday night. So a lot to dive into, and a nearly 2-hour conversation that I had with Michael. So you're not going to want to miss this one. But first, a word from the sponsor, and then we're going to get right into the show. So there's a whole lot of time we have on our hands right now, right? You're sitting at home, maybe binging on Netflix, listening to podcasts. Well, I've got another podcast for you beyond this one to listen to, of course, and that's The Comedian Versus. So what exactly is this about? It's a podcast by Eric Webb. He's a stand-up comedian from LA, and he reviews YouTube videos and has a new topic every single week. It's very entertaining. Sound quality is great. Oh, you guys know how important sound quality is. It's how we get our message across. It's the only way we get our messages across. And sound quality is a big thing, and you won't be disappointed with it. It's also very easy to listen to. It's funny. It's entertaining. Definitely check it out. It's The Comedian Versus. There's also an Instagram at Eric Webb Jr. Comedy. That's Eric, W-E-B-B, Jr. Comedy. And on Twitter at E Webb Jr. That's E-W-E-B-B-J-R. And the website is ericwebbjr.com. So pretty consistent across the board. Check out The Comedian Versus today.
Welcome to the WWE Podcast. The most passionate and authentic wrestling analysis on the web. We've got you covered with every Raw, SmackDown, and NXT show, giving you a no bullshit opinion. We know you love wrestling. We do too. So let's get this show underway.
And that's the bottom line. What? 'Cause Stone Cold said so.
Hey guys, welcome to the WWE Podcast on this Tuesday, March 24th, 2020. As our new world continues, as our new norm settles into place, and getting kind of used to being at home, right? I am a little bit. I think that's going to continue to evolve and probably change on a day-to-day basis. But certainly being at home constantly has its wears and tears on your brain. But and I'm also kind of getting used to this empty arena format. I wouldn't say I prefer it. That's a big stretch. I really can't wait until they're back in front of a live crowd. I'm sure the performers feel that way. I'm sure WWE as a whole feels that way. And there's a new appreciation for a live audience that we didn't have before. So certainly there is something to be said for a live audience. And WWE is doing their damnedest to put on a show, to tweak their presentation to at least not remind you every moment of the program that, you know, hey, this disaster, this crisis is going on, which is what they did the first week of this empty arena format, and having the hard camera panning towards empty seats. And this week on Raw, they panned it towards the stage, towards the entrance ramp. Yes, great move. That's something taken out of the page of AEW. Don't care who they got it from. It works, and it was a much better presentation. Better from the perspective of keeping your mind off of what's happening and engaged in the show. And I thought it was a very solid show from WWE, considering the circumstances. I thought it was a very good show, and it has to be with WrestleMania just under 2 weeks away now, 12 days away or whatever it may be. These are just crazy times. You know, you've heard me talk about it before. I'm not going to bury it into the ground as many other places do. You can go to the news for that. You can go to really any other podcast for that. You can go just any social media. Go on Instagram, go on Facebook. People are talking about it. And yeah, there are some really funny memes going around. I got to say the memes are probably the best part of the whole damn thing, because the memes really make it. I mean, I've just countless memes that are being produced that are hilarious. So hope you enjoy those. Try to do something fun. We actually had a bunch of snow up here in upstate New York, 6 inches of wet snow last night, which is kind of mostly melted, but man, I mean, it's just salt into the wound at this point with being locked in your home, and then you can't even go for a damn walk because it's, blinding snow. So it's just, I just, I'll tell you, it's going to be an explosion from people of pent-up frustration in a good way. I don't mean that in a violent type of way. When we get the all clear from the state and local government and from really the federal government to begin at least slowly integrating normal things into our lives again, which I think is going to be a volume knob and not a light switch. I think it's going to be kind of like, all right, we're going to lift this. Let's try this. We're going to open this again, but keep your distance and see how things go until it's back into full gear, fifth gear, go. It's summertime. Go to restaurants, go to bars, have beer, hang out, whatever. And I know we're all looking forward to that. And more importantly, as a wrestling fan who are listening to these shows, you're looking forward to a live damn audience. I know I am. So great show for you guys today. Long show. Hope you guys are not busy. I think that's being a very sarcastic if you didn't hear me there. But we got 2 hours here of Michael Gross and myself as we cover not just Monday Night Raw. We cover, of course, the events of Monday Night Raw, but our brains lead us on tangents, but tangents that are relevant and tangents that I think you'll enjoy because it's really WrestleMania focused. I mean, we are really at the cusp of WrestleMania now, and one of the most unique WrestleManias of all time, given it's going to be in front of nobody, which is just, it's heartbreaking. But we talk about things like, what is a Boneyard Match, right? What the hell is a Boneyard Match? Well, we cover that in this show. We also discuss the possibility of Rhea Ripley and Charlotte Flair stealing the show. Many, that's a match that's kind of forgotten on WrestleMania, and I don't think we should sleep on it. We answer a couple of questions from a Twitter user. We cover the Shayna Baszler, Charlie Caruso segment. We cover Andrade and Angel Garza, who are now in a tag team match for the Raw tag team titles rather than being in some kind of match for the U.S. title that I thought was coming. Many of us thought were coming, with Angel Garza, Rey Mysterio, Humberto Carrillo, and Andrade in some kind of fatal four-way ladder match for the U.S. title, which may have been in the original plans, but with Rey Mysterio quarantined, I think this is the safe bet. And with Zelina Vega by their side, we are now in a tag team match against the Street Profits at WrestleMania. So not as good, or at least not as good as it could have been with these two, but certainly I'll take it. I mean, again, we cover really everything. Orton's promo, Seth Rollins' promo on Owens, if we thought it went too far and buried Kevin Owens. Lots and lots to talk about here. So I think you're going to enjoy it, and I'll be back tomorrow with some wrestling nostalgia as we continue on and chug on with this podcast and go with the punches. Roll with the punches. I mean, that's what we're all doing. That's what the show is going to do. We're going to continue to pump out content for you guys, and we're going to be back with you tomorrow. We're going to be back with you Thursday. We're going to be back with you Friday, and then back again on the weekend as we roll into the weekend review, covering SmackDown and everything else that happened with none other than Ashley Mann, who will join me this weekend to cover all of that stuff. So we've got a great week of content coming to you. And then obviously next week will be WrestleMania week as we really hunker down for a ton of content, probably even more than we've ever had in the history of this show, with especially now 2 nights of WrestleMania. It could be like 8-9 shows that week, but that remains to be seen. And of course, time to work out that schedule, and I'll keep you guys abreast of the situation. Before I go though, hit me up on social media at the WWE Podcast. Go to my website at www.podcast.com if you want to use the browser format of listening to our shows and looking at blogs rather, and some other stuff on there. That, again, the site, it's going to be expanded into a much more robust area for content other than just the podcasts. I'm aware that this is a site that needs to be filled with content, and it's not quite there yet, but it's coming. And of course, you can get an ad-free experience at patreon.com/WWE podcast for $1 a month. Everything I've ever done is ad-free, as well as exclusive content. A couple of videos up there of me doing Raw reviews and an exclusive blog or two as well, and a shout out on this show. So lots and lots of stuff for you guys to listen to and binge as we kind of sit here and wallow in our new lives. So, alrighty. Well, guys, thank you for taking the time to listen to this show, being a part of this show, making this show a damn success, because it's going to continue to grow and you can be a part of it. Just like and give us a rating and review on iTunes. And that's how this show grows, is by you guys listening, subscribing, commenting, reviewing, and it's all because of you guys. Okay, enough pandering to my crowd. I know I'm trying to be a babyface here, but I'm going to turn into a heel pretty damn quick. And I don't want to do. I don't want to do a heel turn on you guys. I want to give you the wrestling content you came here for. Here's Michael Gross and myself as we discuss damn near everything going on in WWE right now, especially on the Raw side, as we look forward to WrestleMania, just 2 short weeks away. Thank you guys for listening. I'll talk to you soon. WrestleMania is just under 2 weeks away, with a now 2-day event, because WWE says that it's too big for one night. I say it's too long for one night. I don't understand their logic there. I get what they're doing, and I know why they're doing it, but let's be honest, it's just too long for one night. That should be the slogan, instead of spinning it that it's just too big, as if, the last 10 years of WrestleManias haven't been long enough, and just suddenly this year they say it's too big. But nonetheless, we've got Michael Gross with us tonight to talk about Monday Night Raw in the one of the final few Monday Night Raws leading into WrestleMania. Obviously, next week's show will be the final Raw into WrestleMania. And Michael, how you doing? How you holding up with all this crazy virus stuff? You hanging in there like the rest of us?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for asking. And I just want to shout out to all of our listeners, because I know it's tough. I know a lot of people are getting laid off. I know if we hunker down, we can all get through this together. But, I don't think it would be bad if I spoke for behalf of the whole team on this one when I say that I hope we all get through it. And no matter what, maybe if we just concentrate on something else for a little bit, we can find a little bit of a silver lining right now in a terrible, terrible time. But thank you for asking me. I'm doing well. I hope you are too, sir.
I am. I don't want to say I'm getting used to it yet. Certainly after I'm 35 years old, after 3 decades of you have a routine, you know what you do when you get up, and you're not restricted from your home, to suddenly change that in basically overnight certainly is jarring. But as human beings, we're resilient. I really think that, after a week or so, maybe a little more for some, it just takes getting used to. The uncertainty is certainly scaring people. The numbers are scaring people, particularly here in New York, that has 20 times the number of cases that even the next nearest state does. And of course, that has a lot to do with, are people actually getting tested, available tests, all that kind of stuff. I get it. But it's scary here in New York, particularly down near New York City. I'm about 2 hours, 3 hours from there. But it's a crazy time. And speaking of getting used to things, transitioning into wrestling a little, how are you feeling? Are you getting used to these empty arena shows? At first, it was very jarring, very awkward, I thought, at times. And now this is the third empty arena show. How are you feeling about this as we roll into WrestleMania and for the foreseeable future? We've got empty arenas coming down the pike for at least weeks.
Well, I'm seeing something that sometimes a casual viewer doesn't always see, and that's the fact that have you noticed how many times that a performer, a wrestler, goes out there and they're pausing for a live response and it's not there, or they do a pose and there's no reason for that pose. And a big thing we're going to talk about tonight is the Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens interview promo back and forth, because that was totally written for live TV, and that was just terribly done, terribly executed, in my opinion. But we're going to save that for the proper time when we get there. I don't think this is a bad idea. I like the fact that they're doing it Ring of Honor style by filming from the ramp. Something different, something cool, something unique. I think it's hilarious that for once Impact is going to, even though pre-taped, have a bigger studio audience, or even NWO Power, because they did it weeks ahead of time than WrestleMania will. But it's hard to get a hold of or wrap my mind around. I don't necessarily need that studio audience, okay, let me rephrase because I'm going way too old school. I don't need that live Coliseum audience, but I did grow up with the NWA slot at 6 p.m. on Saturdays where it was studio wrestling, and reactions are what you went for, because if you didn't have that reaction, you didn't have heat. And if you didn't have heat, you didn't have a face or a heel. And you can lose aspect of that, and that's kind of where the Kevin Owens thing is, where I'm going to go later on tonight.
It's interesting that you feel negatively about the Rollins promo, and while there were aspects of it that I didn't like, I would say overall that I actually enjoyed that, and I'm glad we disagree on that, because we can both state our cases on it. And yes, I will say overall that it's interesting that you note about the pauses and about the almost like the crowd that they have in their mind that they're playing to. I can't fault them for it, for the fact that they weren't trained to perform in front of nobody. I mean, for years and years, many of them have been performing in front of thousands and thousands, in some cases tens of thousands of people every single night. So when you have a muscle memory like that, it's hard for your brain when you're speaking to not do that naturally. It's not something you can unlearn quickly. So I have kind of noticed that, although I didn't even have that as a point, and I'm glad you brought it up. But it's true. Like the points that they bring up at times, including Seth Rollins, it was pausing, and then you're like, yeah, Seth, there's nobody here. Like, I mean, there's nobody here for you to react to. But I can't fault him and many others who have done promos with nobody there now, through going on a three shows plus now, with no crowd there. And just because of that's the way they've been trained, that's their brain, that's how it's hardwired, and it's not easy to undo.
No, you're absolutely right in that fact. And the one thing that I'll touch about the Kevin Owens thing with you later is I didn't think it was a bad promo. I think the execution of it, for the most part, with the pauses, was bad, and the fact that well, let's just talk about it. Why don't we? We can skip to that part if you're okay with it.
Yeah, go for it. We're already talking about it. Go for it.
I don't want to steal the show. This is your show, no matter what. So this is my problem with it. First of all, I want to say Kevin Owens looks amazing. This is the best I've seen his body shape ever. I followed him when he was Kevin Steen back in Ring of Honor, Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, all that stuff. The guy is really taking care of himself. Kudos to him. Now, Kevin has always been a fantastic, fantastic speech man. His promos, especially when he was Kevin Steen, are things that are legendary. That's one of the reasons he got signed, because he wasn't your typical body type. He wasn't the guy that Vince would look for. He's got the height, but, everybody said, oh, he needs to lose the belly. Me, personally, I'm for all body types, because it takes all kinds to make the world go round, and it just adds more, I think, to the product. But that's texture and depth. Getting back to it, he looked befuddled, talking to a man that he wants to wrestle and fight. His mantra is fight. And there is nobody holding them back. Not one person holding them back. That makes the babyface look dumb and the heel look way too good. Now, mind you, it doesn't always have to be that way. We did go through the 90s with the era of the cool heel. Rollins, he delivered great. When he's too fast out of the gate like he was tonight, the first 30 seconds, it's a little forced. But it's that whole backing up and slowly talking about his facts and getting to the point he needs to make. That's when he always makes his magic. But to leave a guy who's such a great promo man speechless, and a guy that wants to tear your head off and be the babyface, not come out of the ring after you, that just makes the whole thing look stupid. That was my problem.
So you did bring up some good points here, and those are the things that, if I was going to be annoyed by this promo, and overall I liked it for the fact that it was needed for this program. You can say, you're right, there's nobody holding him back. He didn't have the AOP. He didn't have Murphy with him. It was mano-a-mano, and Owens stood in the ring, and his whole deal is just keep fighting. That's what his new shirt says. And you'd be right that he is really saying one thing and then not doing it and not following his own motto. You'd be right. But from the standpoint that this program has seen these two fight, I feel like more times than we need if they're going to build it to a WrestleMania match. For Monday Night Raw after Monday Night Raw after Monday Night Raw, it was Owens, hitting a stunner on Rollins, costing him the tag team titles, costing him the rematch, and then Rollins getting Owens backstage and having his thugs beat down Kevin Owens. And prior to that, Owens was getting beat down on a weekly basis. So I'm fine with them not putting a hand on each other if it's for the sacrifice of Owens not living up to his motto, because that's actually not something I thought about, given the fact that I've seen it so much leading up now to WrestleMania that I needed more of a context to what they're doing. Why are they doing this? What's more of a story beyond like, okay, I just want to beat you up, you want to beat me up. So from that perspective, I'll chalk that up to I need more context, I need more depth to this story, and I think they gave it. You're right with Seth Rollins and his pacing and his coming out, and he's kind of rushed his first 30 seconds, but I liked his pacing around the ring, slowly walking around, making good points about how this place wouldn't exist without Seth Rollins. Whether you believe that or not, I mean, it's probably not true, but Seth Rollins, it was true. Seth Rollins didn't have a beautiful facility. Seth Rollins walked into a broken down warehouse, which is a story you want to tell for the babyface, so I guess in a way I'm kind of countering myself. The one big thing I did have the problem with, outside of everything else, is a point you just brought up, that this was a program that if Rollins is the heel and Owens is the babyface, why is Rollins speaking a lot of truth? Not all, but and certainly exaggerating. But Rollins was speaking a lot of truth. He seemed very confident. He was the one acting like the Predator, walking around the ring, rather than Owens doing that to Rollins. And furthermore, with Kevin Owens, as you said, being muzzled, not being able to respond to Rollins, and making Owens almost doubt himself, basically Rollins bested him big time in that promo, and having Owens just kind of stand there befuddled and almost look like he was going to cry at one point. That's not what you're looking for in that promo. So to me, if I was going to pick the biggest thing, that would be it.
It's the way I look at it is that Owens, like I said, I followed him for years. He is a great ring wrestler, but his biggest weapon is that poison tongue. And Rollins, he's a great ring wrestler, and to me, his greatest weapon is his explosive comeback. But it's not like the indie scene where it's crazy, flippy, weird. And I'm not like one of those guys who's against like the new movement and stuff, but he has the greatest comeback and the greatest explosion for something that's going to happen in the ring. And I like seeing those played to their strengths. I love Rollins' look, even though it's a little Marty Scurll. It's very Marty Scurll, actually. But I like the one glove. I do wish he would have had Buddy Murphy with him, because I'm still going to call him Buddy Murphy. I like that tandem. It would have made it more believable for him to circle that ring with Buddy Murphy than if it was just he and Owens. It just would have, I could have bought into it. I could have sank my teeth into it a little bit more and said, all right, well, it's 2-on-1. He's saving himself. And they could have made an announcement about social distancing, but we're also building up to a combat. So it's kind of contradictory, but I understand we all have to be careful at this point. Like I said, there's a lot of people out of work, and I don't want to make those people mad who listen to us. But it just became, to me, convoluted on who's really the babyface, who's really the heel, and who's getting the better of who. And please, for the love of God, do not make this a double turn. That's the only thing I don't want to see at WrestleMania.
Oh, God, please. No. I don't think they'll go that road, just because Seth Rollins is on a pretty good hot streak with his group. And Kevin Owens is the everyman. He's very relatable. I don't need a double turn. Please, no. I didn't even think of that, and I hope WWE officials just goes in one ear and out the other on that one, because God knows we don't need that. But as I'm thinking of Rollins' promo a little more, this was a babyface promo with a heel speaking it. I mean, it was Seth Rollins running down his resume at WrestleMania. There's no disputing the facts of his resume. won the IC title, won the Universal title, beat Brock, beat Triple H, cashed in Money in the Bank, beat Randy Orton at WrestleMania. I mean, I'm sorry, Randy Orton beat him. I messed that up. I was thinking of the crazy RKO that happened at WrestleMania 31 that same night. But he has a laundry list of accomplishments at WrestleMania, and Kevin Owens does not. And when he brought up, this is probably the most damaging part to Kevin Owens, I think, and not one that's like, oh, I feel sympathy for him, let's get behind him. It was kind of like, ouch, that's right, was when Rollins brought up that Owens wasn't even at WrestleMania on the card last year because he wasn't good enough. To me, that stung in a way that is not the way you want to get behind your babyface. It was just kind of like a really tough truth.
Oh, it was a nail in the coffin. That's when you saw, like you and I have talked about Edge telling the story with his eyes. Owens looked away. You might not have fully seen it, but Owens looked away and withdrew the microphone from his face. And that story was told right there, like, you're right. And that, to me, I said, okay, there's something not right here. I kind of see Owens going over Rollins at WrestleMania. This is the only match I do want a stipulation for.
Agreed.
So I'm tired of boring stipulations, and I'll touch on this a little bit later with AJ Styles, my thoughts on that. But and the way this open arena thing, how it's worked before in the past, but it doesn't work now. But yeah, it just, to me, it all comes to, I really want to see something special with these two because I know they can do special things. And I do want to see Kevin Owens with backup. You can't have Samoa Joe. Okay, I get the wellness policy thing. It could be somebody else. It could be the two of the three guys whose careers have been outright buried in Ricochet, Cedric Alexander, or even bring Apollo Crews over to the side because, God, that guy's talented. And yet, I'd love to see Buddy Murphy interjecting because I want to see him grow as a character and next year have a WrestleMania match for a mid-card title or something because that guy can wrestle. I don't want to see dinosaurs anymore, but that's getting on a different soapbox. So.
I totally, I'm with you 100% on that. Like, I'm thinking this match needs something. Not even it's got to be a hardcore match. Not necessarily the type of match, but what's at stake is what needs to happen to this match. I'm fine with a straight up wrestling match, but if it just continues to be a straight up wrestling match with really nothing on the line, and other than bragging rights the next night on Raw saying, I beat you. I mean, that doesn't do anything for me because both men have beat one another. I need something on the line that it's, okay, Rollins, if you lose, you're off Raw, or your group disbands. If you lose, basically this talent ain't big enough for the both of us. Obviously in a 2020 type of way. Something. I need something of substance. And of course the superstar shakeup is probably coming shortly after WrestleMania, so maybe that'll resolve itself. But something needs to be on the line outside of just ego or outside of bragging rights. I need something else. I mean, do you have an idea of what they could do as a stipulation to this match that would make it feel more urgent, make it feel more important, other than just, okay, well, whoever wins, they'll be there the next night on Raw with bragging rights? I mean, so any ideas?
Yeah, absolutely. So refresh the batteries. These guys have both been pretty much single stars their whole careers. You can't challenge for a singles title for a year. Forces them into tag team action. Of course, I'm not the biggest fan of single stars and tag teams, but I like the way that Buddy Murphy and Rollins worked. And I also believe that you can still grow that core and build it more. But also, it gives you the opportunity to have them beat single stars who are champions but not win a belt. And that builds the frustration of where's it going to go forward in the future. It gives you that hope. It takes away from the 50-50 booking as much as playing hot potato with belts, but it gives us something to say, well, he wasn't allowed to win the belt, but, Rollins did beat the Universal Champion by accident, or, Kevin Owens did beat, the Intercontinental Champion, just not allowed to wear that title. It's something a little bit different that we don't have today. Like I said, I'm still a fan of stars going to NXT, and competing there. And of course, my baby, NXT UK. I'd love to see some Americans over there, just for face recognition, to put more eyeballs on it. And Owens or Rollins, it won't hurt their careers at all to spend a year over there. You have to go to NXT UK for a year. The matches you could have and the new stars you could establish with the UK stars that people just blow off because they've got so much wrestling to see anyway. Well, now you've got all these people who sell so much merch that are going over there that are going to put eyeballs on it. It could be a really positive thing.
That's not a half bad idea. I mean, because we have to, and sometimes I'm guilty of it too, of looking at still of NXT as kind of that third inferior brand, even though, it just takes time because SmackDown and Raw have been such massive mainstays for so many years. And then NXT comes along 5 years ago. And just this year, they have, I think, really, graduated into a legitimate third brand that sometimes I'm guilty of. I got to train my mind to go, no, that's not the case. Like NXT is a legitimate third brand. That's not just corporate speak. That's the truth. So if one of these two guys were to spend a year over in NXT, I think particularly Kevin Owens could probably benefit more, I think, than Seth Rollins at this point. I'm all for it. I mean, my thought is if they add a stipulation, it's probably loser leaves Raw, or if Kevin Owens loses, he has to join Seth Rollins' group, as we saw with John Cena, I believe, in the Nexus. I believe that, I don't know who he faced. I don't know if it was Wade Barrett or whoever at one point in 2011 or so. When John Cena lost and he was forced to join the Nexus, maybe that's what happens with Kevin Owens, and you're waiting for him to turn on the group, and maybe something like that. Or if Seth Rollins loses, he has to leave Raw, which leaves SmackDown open, or NXT. But to me, that's really the only thing you can do. But if NXT is the option, hell yeah. I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, as you said, it's all about building new stars.
I'd like to see it because, I mean, both these guys are Ring of Honor mainstays when they were young. I mean, you look at 90%, okay, that's being a little too liberal. I'd say about 65% of the card of wrestlers on the main roster, they all came from Ring of Honor at one point or another. And it's funny because the people that Vince believes that he built the most are the ones that get the biggest pushes, like Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre and the Street Profits. And it's funny that you see the people that he believed he created as opposed to these classic matches that he can put on with people who did it 10 years beforehand. Those are the people who are getting the rub, but he did not mind filling that roster with people from Ring of Honor, and especially people who had rivalries like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens or Cesaro, and when he was Luke Harper, they put on classic, crazy matches, but it was all swept under the shelf because they're not my people. So, but yeah, I'd love to see a new star created because those guys are humble. They were the new stars. They were the guys that came in, and a good chunk of them did get pushed. I mean, some like Cesaro, unfortunately, got buried in the mid card. Some like Ricochet, who wasn't really Ring of Honor, but did the New Japan merger, he just got buried because he's too damn good, and he's not a homegrown star, and he's not 270 pounds. He's not a waste of skin like Riddick Moss. Sorry, you thought it, I said it.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, so yeah, I can't say anything on that.
I'll watch it.
So yeah, I think we've kind of explained our positions on this program, and I think in general we're both excited about this match. Obviously, if it were in front of a live crowd, it'd be better, but any match would be. But the program itself, the way it's been structured, needs some work. Overall, these two can put on a hell of a match. I mean, both are world-class workers. That's what's going to save this program, even if there was a very shallow reason for them feuding. But we still have a week. We still have a week for Kevin Owens to come out there and deliver a fiery promo and a mic drop type of moment. Kevin Owens is capable of it. And that's what I need to see. I don't even need to see these two brawl. I'm done with seeing them brawl until Mania. I don't need to see them touch each other. I'm fine with nothing happening. I don't think WWE will be able to help themselves, but I'm fine with Kevin Owens just having a sit-down interview with him, or where the tables are turned next week and Kevin Owens is the one who is the alpha male in the room. And that's what Kevin Owens needs. I don't need the woe is me. I don't need pity party feeling for Kevin Owens. He's not necessarily the underdog when you look at his body of work and what he's done. I mean, I just don't like the feeling that he's an underdog against Seth Rollins when Kevin Owens is the babyface. He's a bigger man, as you said. He's in the best shape of his career. He's certainly adding a lot more ink to his arms, which I think is fine. I think he just added, and maybe I didn't notice this, but am I wrong in saying that Kevin Owens added a Tyrannosaurus Rex tattoo to his arm, or is that new, or did I just miss it all these years?
I'm not quite sure myself because I remember him having like one goofy tattoo when he was Kevin Steen.
Yeah.
I know that, he hasn't exactly been bored with, seeing his tattoo parlor people. And I'm sure that's all going to get colored in at some point. But the Tyrannosaurus, I could have sworn I saw a tarantula. So who knows what we saw. But it looks good.
No question. No question. And the guy, let's be honest, I'm fine with all body types too. Like I'm all for diversity in terms of body types. I don't need the Ultimate Warrior, Lex Luger type of bodies that John Cena guys. They're needed and they're certainly got a place. But when you have guys that look kind of like the everyday common man, Daniel Bryan, Kevin Owens, it adds relatability instantly. And but let's be honest, with Kevin Owens' arms, he doesn't have the most defined, largest, most muscular arms in the world. So adding tattoos to that, not to cover up, I don't think he's doing it to cover him up, but the fact that he adds them, like you said, it just fits. It works with his character. I like that he's continuing. It just seems like every week he's got something new and I'm trying to make out what it is, and I can't because the camera just isn't in that type of position. But this week I caught a T-Rex, so I don't know, KO. Whatever you're doing, I like it. Continue. I like it. I think he's going for a sleeve at some point.
I would say so. I think, he's at a point where, the bills are paid and, he bought that brand new truck he always wanted. He owns the house. He's been on the main roster for a while. He's getting those fat paychecks. And it's like, well, I don't have to worry if my kid's going to have, food. I don't have to worry if I'm laid up for 3 months, if my wife will be able to, continue because I've put away this much money in the bank. Let me get a couple of tattoos and do what I always wanted to do. I like it. It's good for him.
Exactly. I have no issue with it, and I like it, and I'm interested to see him. Maybe he has it on his Instagram or something, like a more detailed picture. I'd love to know what he's doing with his ink. I really would. So moving on to another topic, and what happened in Monday Night Raw. I got to ask you about Orton's promo. Closed the show. We didn't get an Edge appearance, but he wasn't advertised to show up. I will just say one thing, and then I'll toss it to you, and I'll react to your reaction, is I really liked this Orton promo. I thought it was back to business with Orton, and it shows you how good he can be. That's my thought on a very high level. The floor is yours on this go-home promo.
Orton is doing what Orton does best. He's mind-bending. He has been doing this since he broke free and had his second heel turn, like after the face turn from leaving Evolution into the heel. And then, there's the Viper, but I'm not quite sure how to describe it, but it's a combination of the Viper and the so-called voices. But he's telling you what he believes in, even though we're saying you're full of it. And he is making himself so good at it. I'm doing this for you. I had an opportunity. I think you were given more things. I ran with my opportunity. I had to continuously fight. I kept going. You had to retire. He is good at it. Unlike Seth Rollins' promo, which was basically a scripted wannabe outright burial of Kevin Owens, Orton's promo is, I know no one believes me, but I'm going to tell you, I believe me. And that's just so good for him. Because the one thing everybody loves about Orton is he's a natural heel. The one thing they hate about Orton is you will never trust him as a face, so you never buy into it when he's a face. There's some people who should just stay polarized to one situation and just stay with it for the rest of their careers. Triple H was one of those guys. Even when he was a face, you knew you couldn't trust it for long. And Orton is in that same mold. And the promo work was beautiful, beautiful. I'm watching my explicatives. I'm being a good boy. But yeah, he also could cut the promo into the camera and not cut that promo into the crowd. And I loved that too. So that's what I thought of that.
I can't add much more to that. And I think on a kind of a side note, the position of the camera, I think WWE this week was a much better camera angle than WWE putting the camera constantly on empty seats that are just glaring back at you at everything that happens in the ring and a constant reminder that no one's there. So I would continue with this camera angle of Raw, SmackDown, where it's pointed towards the entrance, not at the empty seats, because it's just always in your face. But with Orton coming out and saying what he said, you kind of hit the nail on the head, because with Randy Orton, he doesn't feel like he's lying to you. And that's the difference here. Randy Orton is telling the truth from his perspective. And that's what makes him more twisted, is that he's not trying to purposely lie to you as a character. His character truly believes in the BS that he has conjured up, and his justification for attacking Edge and Beth Phoenix of, I did this out of love. I did this out of love. Of course, we all know that in a normal person's mind, that can't be true, because Randy Orton did the one thing that he said he was trying to save Edge from happening, and basically attacking his neck and sending him home and retiring him. That's what he said he was trying to save Randy from, and yet he did the exact thing that he was trying to make sure didn't happen. So it's a very twisted way, and it's a look into the mind of the character in kayfabe land of Randy Orton. It's very deep, and sometimes you forget how good Randy Orton can be, and as you said, mind-bending things that most heels will, like take any heel promo, for example, where they say, I did it all on my own, I didn't need any help. And, what happened? Usually they had some help, or the referee missed something, and they take credit even though that they know it's going to piss off the crowd if they say that they didn't need any help. And you just know it's a flat-out lie, and they know that they're lying, but they're not going to admit it because they're a heel. That's the difference here with Randy. His character believes in his own twisted reality, and that's what makes this great.
He's full of it, and we know he's full of it. But then he still gives you that smirk like, did you buy it? Did you buy it? He is a great sports entertainer. He's a great wrestler too, but he does have that it factor. His promo work also, like I was saying earlier, into the camera is better because he wasn't waiting for reactions. At least it didn't seem like that to me, because I was more enthralled with him just inflating his own ego of garbage and just being like, yes, I'm trying to save you and everything. Like, hearing him speak over and over again, people call him Randy Orton. I call him a true character. There are people you're going to remember from the ruthless attitude aggression. Randy Orton's always going to be one. John Cena will be too. People chanted Randy Orton, and it took a weird, goofy meme on YouTube that got him over again, because he would pull the RKO out of anywhere, and you realized, yeah, he might be a little methodical in his speech, and we might have seen him for years, but do we ever get tired of him as much as we did Cena? I don't know.
I don't think we did. And I think that has something to do with that many people believe that Randy Orton never truly reached the potential that he could have. And certainly Randy has days ahead of him, but there's a lot more behind him than are in front of him in terms of his career. So, and I'm one of them. I said it for years that Randy just feels like he's a guy that is just kind of going through the motions. He can turn it up a little when he wants to, but he doesn't almost have to even try because he's that good. And imagine if he actually was like tried and was motivated. I've said that for years and years and years about Randy. It seemed as if he kind of, once he reached this certain level, just kind of plateaued and got comfortable with himself and knew how good he was, so he didn't really have to try so hard, and it's kind of just going through the motions. And now we're seeing a Randy Orton that is inspired by his real-life friend, his return, and he seems motivated. He's showing you glimpses of what he could have been his entire career if he had felt the need to be motivated. And I think to his defense, that he was trying to extend his career as long as possible, that he wasn't going to kill his body for the sacrifice of one match or two matches. He knew that he had already made his bed. He knew he had already made it. Why am I going to continue to ravage my body, to try to be that top guy? People know how big of a star I am. I'm just going to kind of coast. I'll occasionally jump in the main event, but for the most part, I'm in that mid-upper tier. People love the RKO, and I'm in a good spot. I'm making a lot of money. And that's how I felt with Randy Orton for years and years and years and years. And now we're seeing a different version. People are saying, and I've said, this could be the best work of his career. And I don't think we'd be wrong, or at least the best work since he was past Evolution and became the youngest champion and had the hardcore match with Mick Foley and all that, and started his own group. But that's the key here, is that Randy is so damn good that he doesn't have to try. And so I think he's just trying to extend his career to make the most money he can. And I respect that. Make the most money he can with as little work as he can without killing his body. And so I don't know. You can look at that. There's two schools of thought on that, but I understand that and I respect that. I need to provide for my family, make as much money as I can, and not kill myself and still have a life when I'm done here.
Well, being a consummate professional, and also the fact that he wasn't always having to be at the top of the card. Like you said, mid-upper card, usually upper card, but not the end of the show. Not always the one wearing the belt and not always having the predictable outcome. Extended his career, and it took him out of the John Cena heat. Because babyface, being tired of a babyface is worse than X-Pac heat. I was tired of Hulk Hogan a year and a half into his run, and I saw through how bad his matches were. And, I mean, compared to, like, Ric Flair, who I wanted to see, hold a belt forever, but that's just personal opinion. I look at, like, just, if you can be not in the main event and not the person who constantly wins, you elongate your career, but always be towards the top and have a good entree for the story of your match. Because if you have that great story and you're not the end, people still care about that match. You still put on a good match. You didn't have to win. People still cared about it, and they talked about yours. And I honestly think Orton and Edge is going to be the match of WrestleMania.
Certainly could be. It really, really could be. The chemistry of these two has always been there, whether they've been opponents or whether they've been partners in Rated RKO. They have always had something there with each other. And the story that they've told since Edge's return and the night after the Rumble, when Randy Orton took out Edge 2.5, almost 3 months ago now, was one of the best stories WWE has told in a long, long time. The way that they presented it, how long they waited to bring Edge back, the destruction of Matt Hardy, and the promos by Randy Orton, the promo by Edge in his return. Was it perfect? No. There were certainly some flaws, particularly with Edge's return itself to Raw, which I wasn't a huge fan of the way they did it, but acceptable, and I'm going to give him a pass because of how well this story has been laid out and how good Randy Orton has been, who has really been carrying this on his back the last 2.5 months. I'm looking forward to this match on a lot of levels, and it's going to be very interesting to see how Edge responds to a full-blown match, not a Rumble where a lot of the work is taken off of your shoulders because you're sharing the workload with a bunch of other guys, but a one-on-one last man standing, of the brutality of that match, is really going to test Edge's body. It's really going to test him. I'm very interested and curious to see how that match ends. I really, really, really would not automatically assume Edge is going to win that match. Is he a heavy favorite? Yes, absolutely is a heavy favorite, and with good reason, and he probably will win it. But I wouldn't bet the farm that Edge is going to go over, and maybe Orton wins in some kind of dastardly way, has help, what have you, and Edge ends up winning or losing. And imagine the heat on Randy after that, after you think he's finally going to get his hands on Orton, finally going to get his retribution, and Randy Orton wins at WrestleMania. Now again, the problem is we don't have a live audience to react to this. It's hurting on so many levels with the lack of an audience, because WWE, they like to say they have their live focus group, and they don't have their live focus group. They're just putting stuff out there and maybe using social media to gauge how people would have reacted. But it's this no audience, and it's not their fault. It really hurts, because I'd love to see how the crowd reacts to this match and so many others on the card, of course.
I agree, and one of the reasons I think it could be match of the night is, one, it's a last-minute skip. So a lot of things are going to come into play. I see Beth Phoenix coming into play. I see Jeff Hardy coming into play, even though it's not the same show. And then the one person we haven't seen so far is
Christian.
Exactly. And so he could be the one that turns the tides and gives it to Randy. I could see him, doing some kind of dastardly deed or something like that, and becoming like Randy's, I don't want to say mentor or something like that, but his advice guy, kind of, not necessarily a manager, although I do think that the lost art of the manager could be used in this day and age sometimes. I could see Christian making an appearance that totally swerves us all, and maybe hits it on prettier on Edge, especially the way that could hurt the neck, and just laying him there and maybe setting up one more match, Edge and Christian.
Wow. And that's, I don't know, as far as Christian's in-ring ability, his health, or any of that goes. I think many people would be shocked. But I don't think that, again, without a crowd there, this really hurts. To do this in front of an audience of 0, I think that, and this is another bigger point I was going to bring up about Mania, but it's true to this match specifically, is that I don't know if WWE, we'll never know, if WWE is holding back on some of the big things they were going to do at WrestleMania because there's nobody there. And maybe they'll save that for SummerSlam. Hopefully by then, my God, we have live events with people there. But maybe they're saving moments like this and bottling them for a time when they want to hear that reaction. They want to save these moments for a live audience. And maybe whoever's Edge is feuding with at that time, maybe it is Randy Orton. He doesn't come back till SummerSlam. Who knows? Maybe they can find a creative way to string it to SummerSlam. But moments like that, and really just across the board, are things that I'm looking towards WrestleMania as. I'm excited for this Mania, but if I'm WWE, can I get through Mania with the way I want it to come out and put the results the way I want them and structure it the way that we would have, but without the big bells and whistles that were really for the audience, for those big moments, saving them for when a live audience is there. I'm with you on that. That would be shocking. It would leave people with their jaw dropped and really making you want to see the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania. But do you think there's a possibility WWE is somewhat, I guess for lack of a better word, neutering the bells and whistles of WrestleMania to when they can actually do bigger things in front of a live audience?
Yes, and I'm going to be the first person to tell you I'm for it. What I think is hurt WrestleMania the most in the last few years is Triple H coming out with a bunch of robots and Rusev on a tank and more people showing off what they're going to ride to the ring and wasting over an hour and a half. I timed it one year of getting to the ring versus people who have never had a moment in that ring or were condemned to being third out on the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. I don't want to see any kind of famous person. I don't want to see Ron Gronkowski. And I'm ashamed for the company for signing him. And I know that's a big opinion, but I'll save it down to the fact that if the guy becomes an in-ring performer, he's going to be rushed through everything. He's going to be put in top-tier programs. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if I'm right, I'm usually right. It's going to do nothing but give us Mojo Rawley matches that I'm not really caring about. It's going to give us Ron Gronkowski matches that are going to be sloppy and not really caring about. And it's going to take somebody who wanted to be a wrestler their whole lives, who maybe have to spend 6 or 7 years in NXT after spending about 8 or 9 years in PWG or Ring of Honor or something like that, to only be relegated to a hot potato mid-card U.S. title scene. So get rid of the pageantry. It's time for it to be over. I don't care if I love Queen, but if Freddie Mercury was alive, I don't want to see him introduce WrestleMania. At this point, it used to mean something. It doesn't mean something anymore. We're past the celebrities. We're past the big blown up and that's Saudi Arabia now. And it's so sad that, especially the last 10 years, your best wrestling show has been SummerSlam. WrestleMania has been your goofy, oh my gosh, did you see who's at ringside? I can tell you one thing, I don't care anymore.
They have certainly the past, 8 years or so, definitely made WrestleMania more about, it's a spectacle rather than the substance of what we're here for, and that's the the matches, the wrestling itself. And certainly you can throw in, sprinkle in some entertainment and maybe have a quick shot of, maybe who's at ringside, but the thing is, it's overwhelmingly become more about that. And you're right about Gronkowski. I kind of lamented him as far as his SmackDown Live. I know this isn't a SmackDown Live review, but since you brought it up, Gronkowski, I don't know, and I guess the rumors have been swirling that he signed a multi-year deal, and I don't know how true that is. The fact that we know right now that he is the host of WrestleMania is something that scares me, in the fact that 9 times out of 10, when WWE brings in a celebrity, it usually does not translate well on air. And when they bring in a celebrity to have a match, it usually doesn't work out well. If you want 2 very recent examples, Tyson Fury and Cain Velasquez. Just take a look at what happened with them. People did not care about Cain Velasquez and Brock Lesnar 8 years later. And furthermore, Cain Velasquez didn't look like he belonged. And he did not look imposing at all when he took his shirt off. And I know we're not supposed to care about bodies, but it was strikingly awful. And then you have Tyson Fury and Braun Strowman. That whole thing did not work out well. Tyson Fury, I don't think he was as awful in the ring as he could have been, but in general, these things are one-offs. They're usually made for the celebrity to look like $1 million and make the guys that are still there look like fools. I am never, ever, like Mickey Rourke and was Chris Jericho. I mean, I could go on. Snooki was a part of WrestleMania one year in a match. I don't need these terrible, terrible decisions to bring in celebrities that devalue the product that you are putting on air week in, week in out, and you have guys that are being defined down by somebody who's coming in as an outsider, making you look like a fool. I mean, how many times have we seen it? Outside of maybe a couple exceptions, when we had Big Show and Floyd Money Mayweather, that was actually something that was lightning in a bottle, and I think worked fairly decently for what it could have been. Was it a 5-star match? No. But there are exceptions to this rule. But like I said, 9 times out of 10, when you do something like this, it's usually embarrassing or eye-rolling, and I'm going to reserve my judgment until after WrestleMania, but I have pretty damn good evidence to back that up.
No, I mean, I wouldn't have brought it up if I didn't think it, and I'm glad you agree with me on that, because I don't want to see Tyson Fury back. I don't want to see Velasquez back. I know these guys, well, not Fury as much as Velasquez, having a contract, and I'll say it, I think Ronda Rousey's run was very forgettable. It was 1 year of her supposed to being the her, and going into WrestleMania, the crowd turned. Why? And I hate to say it because she was she. Sometimes less is more. In her case, she needed more to be less. For people to like her more, her matches, they weren't good. They were short. They were against nobodies, and it just became so predictable. Let me point at the sign. Oh, I won everything. Oh, I'm unstoppable. The crowd turned. Why? Because we knew what you wanted to give us. And it's like you said, it demeans the people who've worked so hard to get there. And so many people are so talented. And we don't need Mickey Rourke. We don't need. My favorite is when they have the celebrity who knows nothing about wrestling, and they just like botch the names of the wrestlers, especially like when Mike Tyson called Stone Cold Stone. That was one of my favorites.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I forgot about that.
Stone, like what? Who are you gonna get?
Yeah.
But that worked because the Tyson angle did work. Everybody in the whole world believed he was going to go crazy and punch somebody in the eye. But especially the rumors I hear about perhaps signing, what's his name, Tito Ortiz and other UFC guys. Look, if Vince McMahon wants to sign, if he wants to do celebrity deathmatch, get out of the WWE and concentrate on the XFL. But that's neither here nor there. Let's just keep going.
Right. So I think we're in agreement about that. The Gronk signing didn't do anything for me. And furthermore, I think they've tried to position him as a babyface with Gronkowski or with Mojo Rawley. I would say he's the exact opposite. I said it on my review show about a couple of days ago that he felt like a wannabe frat boy that is trying to be the alpha male a-hole of the group. That's what he felt like. That is, none of his traits were desirable, funny, magnetic. It made you want to see somebody just punch him in the mouth. And they tried to make him off as a babyface against Corbin. And Corbin in his own right is a great heel, but if you're going to make me choose in the moment, I hope Corbin beats the holy hell out of him. Unfortunately, I think we all know what's coming, and that's going to be a spear with Corbin on the receiving end at WrestleMania, unfortunately. So
it probably will. Let's not kid ourselves at this point.
No, let's not, and let's take a breath and try to move on to something else here. And so, some other things happen on Monday Night Raw, and we had Shayna Baszler in the ring with Charlie Caruso, and they had the nice spotlight on the ring. It was a nice feeling where even if a live audience was present, you wouldn't see them because of the spotlight, and that type of light setting has made its way to WWE programming countless times. So it was a nice change of pace to see that. Charlie Caruso seemed to be the only one there in terms of the announcers or what have you, or the interviewers rather. So she's in the ring with Shayna. Shayna just kind of staring a hole through Charlie Caruso and basically saying that she likes to destroy, and taking away the belt from Becky will destroy her. Therefore, I want to take the belt to destroy Becky. Her whole motto, her whole mission is destruction. So I was a fan of this. Did it blow me away? No. But I thought it was very effective. I thought Charlie Caruso showing a little bit of fear, but not overdoing it to a cartoon level, kind of an authentic type of, I'm concerned for my well-being here, let's move on to the interview, was a good way. Charlie Caruso, you got to give her credit. She doesn't act like a cartoon character. She tries to act like a sportscaster would if they were actually in WWE, treating this like a true sport. So I'll give Charlie Caruso credit where it's due. So I thought this segment was effective. And then you have Becky Lynch come in, hitting Shayna from behind with a chair. Now, I don't know about you. I know I'm giving you a lot here, but I don't know about you. But I have been feeling for months now that Becky Lynch is on a heel turn course. Now, would they do this with no crowd at WrestleMania? These could be one of the things you put in the bag of, let's do this when there's a crowd, when there's a crowd present. And so I don't think a heel turn's coming at Mania simply because of the fact that now there's no crowd. But could you see Becky Lynch possibly turning heel down the line, given the fact, I mean, the evidence is piling up now. She's been extremely arrogant for months now. No longer the Becky that's been underbooked, misutilized, kind of what endeared her to the audience to begin with. She's no longer that. She's purchasing and creating goat jackets. She comes in on semis with her face painted on them. She talks about how she has run through everybody. There's no one that can touch her. She attacks now from behind. I mean, the evidence is starting to pile up of a heel turn. Babyfaces don't attack from behind. And you may justify it by saying, well, Shayna attacked her from behind in the ring and bit her neck. But that's still not how babyfaces react. Babyfaces come face to face and they handle it woman to woman, man to man, whatever the gender may be. And that's how it's handled. So maybe I'm reading too much into this. Maybe WWE is not even considering this. But so I guess it's kind of a twofold. What did you think of this segment with Shayna and Charlie Caruso? And what did you think of the second part of this with Becky attacking Shayna from behind with a chair?
I love the whole thing. Okay. And I'm going to tell you what. One, like you said, Charlie is great as far as feeling uncomfortable, but not being cartoonish. I hate the cartoonish. She did a great job of, I'm uneasy. Should I get out of here? Let me rock a little back and forth. I love that because that's good. When it comes down to it, she's an actress. She's not an in-ring performer. And she was acting. She was acting really well. It's no, Academy Award, but for what this is, it's amazing. And I like seeing somebody portray something more real and less cartoon. So it's great. And Baszler needs to play the bully. That's been her role this whole time. There's no way I could ever see Baszler as a face. Now, with that being said, the twofold turn. Could I see the WWE try it? Absolutely. Why? Because I think they're still trying to clean the egg off their face when they found out that everybody turned on Ronda and liked Becky. And two, because Becky's versatile, she can go either way. And the fact that her in-life boyfriend has become the biggest heel and they don't want to separate who they are on the card. They tried to do that with, what was it? Ambrose and Renee. And when they had that whole uncomfortable questioning in commentary, I know it was supposed to be real, but it was uncomfortable to watch at home. Like, just leave the girl alone, And this way, it's justifiable to put them together doing outlandish, ridiculous stuff. And the way she's acting emulates the Monday Night Messiah's personality. And so you could see her getting more and more over the top and then more and more kind of grouping herself towards him because they're together in real life. They've made it known and it can grow. Will it do a double turn? Nah, I don't know because it's hard for me to buy Baszler as a face. But I think Baszler could do it better than Ronda Rousey. So why not give it a shot? Let's do it.
It's not going to be easy, like you said. I think for the WWE fans to really buy into it, it's going to have to be a little bit more forthright of her attitude changing than just kind of this. Some people find it endearing. Oh, she's just a true badass. Oh, she's just exacting her revenge, and a more transparent type of attitude of I've or where the announcers actually point out that where they're noticing this attitude change, but she isn't quite fully heel yet. And the announcers haven't really alluded to that yet. So maybe it's just me in my own head, but it's certainly been more heel than babyface in terms of her actions and her gear and her driving in Mack trucks. Well, all that kind of stuff is very self-serving and ego-driven that you normally don't have a babyface with and do. So I don't know. Yeah, double turn's not going to be easy. Double turns are one of the hardest things to do in wrestling, and you don't want to do a double turn in front of nobody. So I really think that this is something that should be reserved for when maybe on a bigger stage. Maybe at SummerSlam. Maybe they don't do it at all, and maybe that's the case too, and I'm overthinking that. But so On to Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman, and Brock Lesnar getting paid how many hundreds of thousands just to stand there and stare and look mean that he gets paid almost on a weekly basis to come out and do. Paul Heyman cutting his promo. I mean, it really wasn't anything, I guess, to really write home about. Just kind of a reminder of, hey, I'm here. This match is still taking place. Now, I will say about this match, I'm really looking forward to this match. This is a match that I like how they've built Drew. Drew is a very easy guy to like. He has paid his dues. He looks like a real champion. He's in phenomenal shape. He is a legitimate athlete. I like everything about Drew McIntyre. Brock Lesnar, in his own right, is one of the most celebrated combat athletes in the world. So when they drop the belt and make the change here, it's going to be of meaning. It's going to have a lot of value on it. And I don't know for sure if Brock would drop the belt, but again, this seems like a slam dunk at Mania that Brock is going to drop to Drew. And when I have those types of certainties, we've seen it before. When this seems foregone, we've seen it with Brock and Roman Reigns at Mania when Brock beat Roman Reigns, and we're all like, what? I mean, Roman was supposed to win this. Let's just get it over with. In this case, I think we're a little safer because Drew doesn't have that resistance against him. I think Vince was in that instance kind of forced to go, oh, they think it's going to happen here? Well, no, let's wait till SummerSlam. I mean, so whenever things are certain in wrestling, that's when I get a little bit nervous and a flag goes up. But Heyman comes out and says that McIntyre can do anything he wants, train, weightlift, sparring with MMA fighters, but he says he cannot beat Brock at WrestleMania, and adds a line about that God's prayer line is going to give McIntyre a busy signal. That was pretty funny. And said basically he called him I'm not going to cuss, but called him a B word, and that you're going to have to beat Brock Lesnar. You're not going to beat him at WrestleMania. And it wasn't anything. Again, we've seen Paul Heyman cut A+ promos before. This was good. This reminded you that this is going to be a hell of a match. I think that this is going to be a war at WrestleMania. And I don't know. So I'm kind of repeating myself, but what did you think about this promo and really the upcoming match at Mania?
Okay. I like the promo because, let's be honest. Paul Heyman's best thing is to basically eviscerate somebody and verbally sodomize them until they're dead. And I don't know if I could say that on there, but that's what he does. And he never stops. And of course, the vulgar language he used at the end of the promo was to put an exclamation point on it. With Drew McIntyre not being as good of an orator, although he's growing, it's going to be hard to come back from a promo like that. But the foregone conclusion is Drew McIntyre was the chosen one 10 years ago. And what I see happening walking out of WrestleMania is that you're going to have two champions who look almost exactly alike between Roman Reigns and Drew McIntyre. So what's that tell you about Vince McMahon's chosen people? Now, with that being said, they go into how, incredibly amazing Brock Lesnar is by flashing back to a match from 5 years ago. And you got Cena, Lesnar, and Owens. And the whole point is, one, if Rollins loses at Mania this year, it's to showcase him a little bit more and say, oh, look, he used to wrestle Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar and Cena, and it's, three of the best we've had. Well, they don't really realize the fact that they're showing us this match, but not realizing the fact that they've lost so many millions of viewers all the time is because we've gotten a combination of these three always being on the top of the scene with the same people for over 5 years. I can see the good and the bad. But with that being all tied up, the question was about the promo. I know I get on side tangents. I got to watch it. Heyman's the man. Like you said, Brock's out there collecting hundreds of thousands of dollars just to stand there in an empty ring. I could do that for $5, and I could buy a hot dog with that $5. And but at the end of the day, it was still a solid promo. I just want to see how Drew can make a better promo at this point.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Drew needs to come out and not do the backstage type of pre-recorded promos. I need to see Drew come out and fire up against Brock Lesnar, and I'm fine again. Just like with a lot of other programs right now, I'm okay with no physicality until WrestleMania. I actually would have kept Orton and Edge away from each other until WrestleMania. I didn't actually need to see Edge and Orton have any kind of physical altercation where Edge is just trying to get to Randy and Randy just continues to somehow avoid Edge. I mean, but that's neither here nor there. But yeah, Drew McIntyre, he's a guy. I mean, I would love to hear the audience again at WrestleMania if this were in front of 80,000 people, because this is a guy that has struggled for years. He was, like you said, he was anointed the chosen one, left WWE, came back a man. As Drew said, he left a boy and came back a man. That is true. There's a lot of truth here. Drew has a very inspiring story that there's not a whole lot you have to think about to like this guy. And I thought he was sorely misused for the first 12 months that he was in WWE, being kind of Shane McMahon's lackey, in and out of the top spot, thinking they're going to turn him on, they turn him off, and they finally do this, and they finally pull the trigger, and they have him against Brock Lesnar at Mania. They need an A-plus promo from him next week. I think that'll be the cherry on top going into the WrestleMania event, and having him beat Brock Lesnar is, yeah, it's very predictable, but I think we all want to see it. Just as Daniel Bryan winning at WrestleMania 30 was very predictable, but we all wanted to see it. People automatically look at predictability as bad. That's, as we've said it on this show, I love predictable as long as it's the right thing to do, and not just doing something to change it just to be unpredictable to get a buzz going that's ultimately in the long run going to lead to more problems and hot-shotting stuff. So to me, Drew McIntyre is on a course for success. I'm very interested to see, after he takes the belt from Brock, what they do with him, because Brock kind of goes into hiding until SummerSlam, usually. So when Brock goes back into his hole and Drew McIntyre is running the show for 6 months, maybe more, it's interesting to see who he's going to work with. If they shake up the roster, how that's going to affect his opponent. So beyond Brock Lesnar, I'm looking beyond Brock, because that's ultimately what this is going to decide if it's a success or failure for Drew as champion. Who's out there for Drew? Who can he work with that is top tier? Could Seth Rollins be the guy? Certainly could be the guy. But we'll have to see. I'm looking forward to this new changing of the guard, so to speak, as Brock likes to seem to be in the main event of WrestleMania every year. It's just kind of a birthright for him. But Vince likes to use him as the guy to put over the new guy. So while people may be frustrated with Brock always having the belt, especially around WrestleMania, you have to understand Brock Lesnar, there is no real argument here, is the biggest star WWE has, bar none. He is the biggest star in the company. He's got the longest list of credentials. His resume reads like a short novel. This guy has it all. And if you're going to put somebody over to build that next star, which they know is what they need to do, you need to do it with your biggest star that you have, the guy that has the most credentials, the guy that's been running roughshod. It makes the most sense. So that's why Brock Lesnar is kind of habitually included in the main event, to get the guys over that are going to be there well after Brock is gone.
Well, if Brock's going to eventually pass his torch on of the, ultimate tough guy, it should be Braun Strowman, because I think we both agree that Strowman doesn't need a title. He's big enough, he's strong enough. It would look nice on him one day for a short reign, but he's not necessarily the next Andre, but he's along those lines. So, if there's going to be somebody who, goes that extra route to go against Brock, it should be Strowman to finally defeat him sound, square in the ring, and do it decisively, like really decisively. Now, as far as Drew goes, I probably see, unless there's a superstar shakeup, I see some, maybe goofy matches ahead, maybe a Lashley, because, Bobby Lashley was obviously an MMA fighter, and a pretty darn good one, by the way. So that'll cement him as a legitimate champion. The big match to build towards SummerSlam and maybe carry over. I'm just looking at the star power and it's kind of escaping me. I think they might feed him somebody else, like feed him Goldberg, bring Goldberg over, have him retire Goldberg. That could be interesting. But then I really don't want to see any more of the dinosaur act. I really want to see him working fresh matches. The thing is, he's a great big man, and he's not a super big man, but he is a great upper tier big man. The 6'6", 6'7", just beast. He can move from his feet, and I'm picking my brain like who would be the great person to work a program with that they haven't already somewhat diminished the value of. And that's where the trick comes in. You could bring the Fiend in, but if the Fiend loses too many matches, people aren't going to want to see that because they're already going to see it, and that's not the predictable we want to see. I think we want to see at least a brawl that goes nowhere, or something like that. I hate undisputed stuff, but I don't want to see two top-tier guys who could both go in different directions, go at each other when it's too premature. A year from now, yes. But now, right away, or within the next 6, no. So, fresh matches in your eyes, maybe somebody to push into that top tier scene.
I mean, it's difficult to say because after WrestleMania, it's the new season of WWE, right? I mean, we go into season, whatever season number we're in now, for WrestleMania or for WWE, and that could mean NXT guys going to Raw or SmackDown guys going to Raw. It just seems like there's a lot of debuts on the night after WrestleMania, the Monday Night Raw after. We all know how hot of a show that normally is. This year may be quite different. And I mean, whatever's happening with, and I believe it's on SmackDown, not Raw, but the constant camera glitches that are happening that the announcers haven't even brought up yet. I mean, we don't know who that is. Clearly, it's somebody because it's happening. It's been happening for 5-6 weeks now of just randomly showing quick images. It looks like a camera glitch, and then there's like a picture or something, and then it goes away, and the announcers pretend it didn't happen. So whoever that may be, I mean, there are a lot of changes and debuts coming up. I just think that it's probably going to be Seth Rollins is a very solid and predictable opponent for Drew, and that could be a hell of a program, but maybe they'll save something that big for SummerSlam. I mean, there's a lot of potential matchups, and it's hard for me to predict because everything changes after Mania. We go into a whole new year. So, but speaking of dinosaurs, if you want to talk about a dinosaur, I mean, you might as well go into the Jurassic period with The Undertaker, with AJ Styles. I mean, I'm just going to pause before I give you my thoughts. I mean, we had another promo by AJ Styles this week. What have you thought about this program so far and the promo on Raw?
Okay, so the whole calling him out all the time, saying he's a slave to his wife and everything it's weak sauce for me. I know it's something for them to try to grasp their teeth into, but you can't grasp your teeth into the fact that you outright buried the smaller guy twice. And, historically, you look at WWE or WWF, whatever you want to call it at the time, and Hogan, he was supposed to be the All-American guy, but he was over 300 pounds and 6'7", but he was always taking on someone who was like 400 and something pounds and out of shape. They were almost always out of shape until the Warrior. And that was their big thing. It's like, if you're in, great shape and you're a big guy, you can take out the even bigger guy who was a slob. Well, this is the reverse, and we have the reverse of the polarity in their allegiance to babyface or heel. And then you've also had the babyface crush the heel convincingly twice. You've had a very weak contract signing, which contract signings need to go away. And I don't know where to go with this. The promo was okay. I mean, I don't know. AJ, like I said, he's never been. He's kind of like McIntyre. He was never a great orator until he got to WWE. In fact, actually, his last couple of years at TNA, maybe, or Impact, whatever you want to call it, he come into his own promos, but he could always tell you that's why he did so much in the ring. So my thought on it was, it just looks weak, and if Undertaker goes over, this is just a waste of a program. You killed it months ago. You killed it from the beginning. Now, if AJ goes over, I don't want to see the club there. I'd like to see him actually just out-wrestle him and be like the first guy in forever I hate roll-ups, something better than a roll-up, but to get the pin, if they can put on a great match, and if The Undertaker is 60% of the man he was when he faced CM Punk a few years ago, we might have something. We could have something in the bank, but to me, the heat level on this is like a 4 out of 10. How about you?
Yeah, so I'm with you on the fact that I'm not as interested in this program as I feel like I should be. And I think my lowest point with this was after AJ Styles was chokeslammed for the second time at Elimination Chamber, and how easily The Undertaker just disposed of him. I mean, I don't want somebody like AJ Styles being easily handled by The Undertaker. I need it to feel like a true threat to The Undertaker losing at WrestleMania. Not that that has a whole lot of value anymore with The Undertaker losing at Mania, but nonetheless, it is The Undertaker, a legend, regardless of how much we all think that he should have retired 5-10 years ago, and AJ Styles bringing that to the forefront and also calling him by Mark Calloway. I mean, no one's ever done that. You talk about a way to kill a character, and Randy Orton did the same thing with Edge, calling him Adam Copeland is addicted to Edge. But that, I think, was different because Randy, in that case, was talking about the man Adam that retired because we all felt that emotional connection with the man, not the character. And now he's saying that man is addicted to who Edge is. And so it was a little bit more, wasn't as big of a sin as it was for AJ Styles to really double down on this whole notion, this whole story arc of this being built around AJ Styles and his moments being taken by an old man, and that he's going to pay for his assisted living costs. And it's, The Undertaker, he talked about how he's, I don't know, he related him to some kind of like tiger whisperer or something that's flying around Netflix now.
Yeah.
All of these things that I don't think really help The Undertaker because we all know that's part of, like, we all know that's the problem with The Undertaker, and we try to hide it every year, and now they're bringing this out in a storyline with AJ Styles. So again, my low point was Elimination Chamber saying there's no way they can do this, and yet they did it, and now after that they're going full steam ahead to this program to WrestleMania. But I mean, as much as I wouldn't gone this route of actually bringing Mark Calloway, the man, into the story, which kills the Undertaker character itself, one of the most beloved characters of all time, humanizing the Undertaker, bad move. I'm not a fan of how they did it, but at least I still want to see Undertaker. I still want to see Undertaker tombstone him. I still want that. I still have that feeling. It's not very strong, but I still want that. Furthermore, you have this match as a Boneyard match. I have no idea, and nobody does, and I think that's the whole hook, is we don't know what a Boneyard match is. I would assume that a Boneyard match is probably held in a cemetery. I'm sure that this match is going to be held probably not in the ring, probably in a cemetery, some local cemetery, I would assume. And that's my thought, because I don't know how you can have a Boneyard match in the middle of the ring. I know they've done Buried Alive before. They just bring in a big pile of dirt and stick it there. Certainly they could have done a casket match, which to me would have made more sense given that he was talking about putting in the nail in the coffin of the Undertaker. But they went with a Boneyard match, and I'm not following how that's going to work. I would assume it's being shot at a cemetery. That's, to me, the closest thing to a boneyard. I don't even know what a boneyard really is. But yeah, this match, I'm really kind of concerned about the quality of it now, given that I would assume it's not in the ring. Again, these are a lot of assumptions, but I'm concerned about the quality. I just want to see Undertaker tombstone AJ and call it a night and ride into the sunset, and maybe we'll see next year, or probably at this year's 30th anniversary of the Undertaker's debut at Survivor Series, which I think he'll make an appearance.
I really don't know what to make of this match. I did my research, so I know what a boneyard is. This is interesting. It is a graveyard for either cars, planes, or motorcycles. Because you pick their bones and rebuild them, whatever. It's, I guess, a antiquated term. I really don't want to see them wrestle in a motorcycle graveyard. That's the thing that most makes sense with the persona that he's taking on, going back kind of to the American Badass. However, it's kind of a hybrid. We all see it. The only other thing I can think is that it might be a new version of, like maybe in the basement of the place, like a boiler room match. I don't know how many legs this thing needs to carry it. Because with it being that type of match, well, one, not knowing what it is, which is leaving us all kind of dumbfounded. I have no idea how to speculate it. But it's like you said, like, give him a tombstone right after the sunset. But with it being so predictable, then they shouldn't have killed it 2 months ago. They shouldn't have killed it at the Saudi show when he looked at the trophy and just destroyed AJ then. And then with just everything, it's been killing AJ. So if AJ doesn't win, honestly, for me, it kills the match. Because it was just garbage. It was before water thin. It was so thin. It was, transparently hyper space or something like that. I can't think of any other style of match besides something in a, like you said, a graveyard. I don't want to see a buried alive. I don't want to see a boiler room. So I'm curious what the whole crazy stipulation on this is going to be. The only other thing I could think was, because it's an empty arena, the old, like Terry Funk, Jerry Lawler style, where they brawl all over the arena. And they did some pretty amazing stuff there. So besides the fact that it's, brawl all over, you can use submission moves around poles like the old Bret Hart Lock and things like that. But at this point, those guys are getting a little old, so you got to watch the joints. I don't know. 50-50. If AJ wins, how are you going to feel about it?
I mean, if AJ wins, which I don't think he should, I really don't think AJ should win, simply for the fact of I don't want too many people beating The Undertaker at WrestleMania. You have Brock Lesnar and you have Roman Reigns. I would leave it at that. AJ Styles is not a guy you're going to build towards. There's whatever's left of the mystique of The Undertaker, I don't need it being tossed into a guy that's probably only got a year or two left. I mean, let's be honest. Like AJ Styles, from everything I'm reading too, and it makes sense. He doesn't want to be wrestling full time in the next, in his next contract. He doesn't want that, and I wouldn't want that either. And if he's going to string out his career for another couple of years, that's fine. But the point is, if you're going to beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania, man, you need to make it worth it. And to me, I don't want AJ Styles being Undertaker. To me, it's just, let's just go through a formality. It's WrestleMania, fine. Undertaker has an opponent. AJ Styles is a great opponent for this point in his career, given the fact of the extreme limitations The Undertaker has in his physical abilities. And AJ Styles is certainly a guy that can carry the load of the match when he wants to and make Undertaker look like $1 million. So certainly I see this being a very kind of straightforward brawl, as you said. If it is in some kind of scrapyard or whatever, in a motorcycle graveyard, I don't know, whatever the heck kind of weird setting this is. Maybe they'll do it at the Hardy compound. I don't know. Maybe this will be done in the wilderness. I don't know. And I guess again, that's the hook. We all are questioning, what's a boneyard match? We'll obviously get the answer, but The fact of the matter is, it's not going to change the fact that these two are squaring off, and it's going to be at Mania. And I really don't know what to make of it. I'm really trying to do this new thing of not judging it before I see it, but it's really hard to not judge this based on the story that I feel like I could have been way more excited about had it not been presented in a way that they did it, with Undertaker showing up and chokeslamming AJ Styles once. Just a single chokeslam put him down for the 3 count. A single chokeslam. When we've seen people kick out of the chokeslam, that's really not used as a finish, much less at the very beginning of a match to put a guy down instantly. It really, I think, from that second it happened, I said, well, that's that. There's no way they're going to go with that at Mania, given how quickly he defeated AJ Styles. And sure enough, we got this all the way now to WrestleMania. So I don't know. I'm just disappointed in how I feel. I feel like I should be way more excited than I am, given it's AJ Styles versus The Undertaker. I mean, just on paper, it sounds better than it actually has been.
Yeah, I know. Oh, man. Can I ask you one question?
Yeah.
What did you think of that kid Leon Ruff taking that black mask to the face from Aleister Black?
No, was that on? Oh boy, maybe I didn't see that. I'm thinking if it wasn't on the Hulu version. Hang on, now you're gonna make me. Well, tell me what you thought, because I don't know if I actually remember seeing that, because I watched the Hulu version, so they might have cut that out.
They probably did. It lasted about 35 seconds. Aleister Black did his typical come up from the ground, which it's like, if you have no people, you really don't need that. And he comes to the ring. He does his little springboard around, sit down, stare at the guy. And this guy, Leo Ruff, young African-American man, kind of looks like Kona Reeves. And he's saying, just get up, fight me, get up, fight me. Black won't do it, goes for a kick. Black ducks it, rolls up, lines him up. Black masses him, and it looked like he took this poor kid's head off. This kid sold like no one's business. If he's not going to get signed for anything later in life, he'll be signed for the way he sold it, because it was a good, quick pop. I mean, it was, like I said, a 35, 40-second match. I really wish that they would do more with this with Aleister Black. I've watched his history. The guy can do some stuff, especially, like we both talked about his Buddy Murphy matches. Like, give him more than 5 minutes. Give him 10 minutes. With the right opponent, it's so amazing because they can do so much. But this kid who he wrestled, which was basically probably a tryout guy, sold a great kick. Just sold it perfectly, like he got his head kicked off. And I don't know. I kind of hope that this kid, whoever he is, who went to the Performance Center for his one time, got a contract, or at least got a small time contract, because he played his role really well, and we don't have that art. We get local talent when they go to cities, and a lot of those guys, they're not as good. They usually lay down faster than 30 seconds. So I enjoy it.
And what we saw in Raw, although it was mentioned very quickly too, I did see that Aleister Black is going to be facing Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania. Yeah. So that came out of nowhere. Certainly it is at least formidable competition for Aleister. I would assume that it's just a stepping stone for Aleister to move to this next level that seems to keep evading him. But I'm looking forward to that match from the fact of, number one, I don't remember ever seeing these two square up. And to see him hit Black Mass on Bobby Lashley, who has really risen to be one of the top 10 heels on Raw, given the whole Rusev angle that has just really gone out the window. But Aleister Black against Bobby Lashley, I mean, it's probably going to be on the pre-show, but or even if it's on the main show, that's fine. But there's no story to this. There's no story at all. But it's just going to be interesting to see these two lock up. From, hey, we've never seen this before, and at least it's not a local no-name talent that he's squaring up with, and he'll actually be a challenge for Black. So I don't know. I don't even know what to say about this match. Right?
It's a hard one to call because, like you said, absolutely no build. They're going to wrestle at WrestleMania. And this is what we talked about weeks ago, when we were talking about, does everybody get a participation award at this point? Like, WrestleMania used to mean something. If you weren't on the show, you should have seen Kevin Owens look last night. because that's what it should mean to you. And instead we have battle royals for everybody and 6-pack scrambles and sometimes ladder matches. And like I said, I respect the fact that Vince wants to pay everybody, but we don't need 8 hours in a day. And to touch on something real quick too, is the fact that, I was asked by our good friend of the show, DJ Kuzmo, how I felt about it being a 2-day program. And if I could answer that real quick, I want to say, honestly, if you look at it between the Hall of Fame ceremony, which isn't wrestling, but NXT, then an 8-hour WrestleMania, they've been planning this for a long time. They've been wanting to do this for a long time. So let's do a Saturday for 4 hours or 3 hours, and then let's do a Sunday for 12 hours. We just didn't realize it because we thought of it as two different situations. But really, it's all the same company at the end of the day. So New Japan has been doing it. They did it earlier this year, and then they ended it on a Monday with New Year's Scramble, which is they're trying to set everything. It's like their Raw after Wrestle Kingdom 9, and it's another 6 hours or something like that. It's just longer than what we're subjected to. And so I think Vince has looked at these templates. I think Triple H has looked at more of these templates, and that's why they purposely put those takeovers in front of those WrestleManias. But I'm with you. I don't need WrestleMania all day. 2 4-hour back-to-back, it doesn't feel special to me. It's more easy to digest, but it's a weekend. I got people to see. I got things to do. I don't want to plan it all around my wrestling. And even though with the network we can rewind whatever else, but still, the fact is, while it can be done and it's more palatable and it takes the stigma of having undercard belts defended on pre-shows, at the end of the day, if you're on day one, you're still basically the pre-show, and it still just kind of takes away from you being at WrestleMania, or should you even be there to begin with? That's some thoughts.
Yeah, the 2-day format is quite interesting, and like you said, if they were actually planning on doing this, I don't know if they planned on doing this regardless of the virus outbreak and throwing a wrench into everything. I tend to believe it's hard to believe that they actually planned this out and didn't tell people and decide not to tell people until 2 weeks before that, oh yeah, by the way, it's going to be WrestleMania is just too big for one night. Nonsense, right? I mean, like, obviously they wouldn't have done that given the fact they already had ticket sales and all that stuff. This is something that I think was done in response to a couple things. Number one, I think this is going to be used as an experiment. So when you talk about future WrestleManias, maybe they do have a 2-night format moving forward. Maybe this is a rousing success. Number one, people are going to be more engaged because they don't have to sit for 7 or 8 hours. It's just, hopefully, probably 3.5 or 4 and 4 at the most. And that's a big difference compared to just sitting there for 8 hours trying to watch wrestling. Even the most hardcore fans you just get burned out. You don't even care by the end of the show who's there. You just don't. So I think it's an experiment that is really a benefit of this whole virus outbreak that kind of fell into their lap, and they can use this as an experiment for moving forward if they want to possibly do Saturday and Sunday for every WrestleMania moving forward. And I'm good with it because I know that, like you said, I mean, most people do have things to do on the weekends, but with people sitting at home for probably the next month, at least I know in New York, like we're not doing anything. Like, I'm sitting at home working from home, and many people are, millions of people probably are. People are probably clamoring for something like this because now it's not just one huge night where you get exhausted halfway through. It's 2 nights. The entire weekend is WrestleMania. So from that perspective, with not really much else going on for most people, it's a blessing in disguise. I mean, for me, I'm actually looking forward to. I'm like, oh, great! Now it's 2 nights instead of 1. I actually like that simply because I don't have anything else happening other than, well, my wife, my kid, but they're asleep by that time, and I get to sit up, put my feet up, and relax for 2 full nights of WrestleMania. So I think it's a good thing. It keeps people from burnout, and it's a great way to use it as an experiment moving forward. Do you think that they would dare to do this, if it's a rousing success as a format for a live audience for Saturday and Sunday in the coming years of WrestleMania?
My right off the bat answer is no. But like I said, with typically a takeover being before a big four, it's like they were kind of gearing up to see if they could do this, to make it a wrestling weekend. So let's, like I said in the past, you have a takeover on a Saturday, and then you have an 8-hour WrestleMania on Sunday. We were all complaining about that because we were burned out by them. But splitting it up and then putting the takeovers at different points, well, now you have multiple wrestling weekends. But that's me trying to think inside their brain. I think that it might have been an idea a long time ago, an idea to see how much wrestling people could digest in a weekend, not necessarily in a WrestleMania format. But I could see if it's a success, which I don't think it will be just because of the empty arena format. I know it sounds weird, but I just think without reaction, some things will get lost in translation. I just don't know. I really don't. I'm gonna be honest and say I don't know. If it is a success, yeah, it could be easier to digest, but I'm gonna miss one of the days, especially the day, the first day that they consider the blow off day, and that's sad. I just feel for anybody who's told your first day, but it's WrestleMania, yeah, but it's first day. It becomes iffy at this point. Now, are we going to have the Wrestle Olympics? But yeah, I can see it maybe going to like the old Great American Bash in the summers where you'd have like a double, a Friday, Saturday pay-per-view that Jim Crockett Promotions used to do. Why not? Once every couple of years, just something special. But for WrestleMania, no.
Yeah, I think it's to me, if I was WWE, I would have made the same decision, because I would have said to myself, there's no better time than right now. If we're going to try this experiment of 2 nights of WrestleMania, there's no better time, no better place than to do it this year, given the crazy circumstances. So I think that most people will probably receive this well. And I really do believe that, simply because, again, people love WrestleMania as it is. I mean, we all complain about the length. The length is the number one thing that WWE probably hears from social media and fan reaction and feedback, that it's just too damn long. We can't watch. It's like watching Gone with the Wind 3 times in a row. I mean, we just can't deal with it that long. And they are obviously using that complaint in a positive way to use this year as an experiment, or maybe not even as an experiment, just as, well, you wanted it, here you go, but next year we're back to our normal format. And they may well do that. They may not even be using this as a potential guinea pig for what could happen in future years. But I think there's no better time or place to do this, and I'm looking forward to not having to sit there and go, oh my God, we're only 3 matches in, there's still 12 to go, right? I mean, that's sometimes how it is. And then you got all the filler, all the celebrity nonsense, all the video packages, and all that kind of stuff that really add time to, and as you said, the entrances, my God, with tanks and John Cena coming through with a sports, I don't know, it was like a Mustang GT, and Triple H with his what was it, the Terminator, all that kind of stuff. While it's a spectacle and you expect that at Mania, as you said, the amount of time you add up that adds to the show is way too much. So we may get a 3 and 3 hour. I mean, I'd love to know the total amount, now that they don't have all that fluff to add to the show, what the total time is for this show. It's going to be very interesting from that perspective. So a couple other things that I wanted to touch on. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna toss it to you. Is there anything that you wanted to talk about? Because I do have 1 or 2 more things, and then we can wrap this up. That happened on Raw that you wanted to talk about.
Well, I love the path that Rhea Ripley's on. I'm a big fan of her. I know that they need to keep the product alive by doing those flashback matches to everything. But I feel that everybody who's going to be in a flashback match, like Charlotte, like Lesnar, are going to lose. I think it adds to predictability. But with that being said, if they don't, especially in the Charlotte Flair Rhea Ripley situation, I am so excited to see that because I really think that that's just going to be something beautiful. I really think that they're going to go all out and just let them have it. And I think, honestly, my prediction is that they are going to headline night one of WrestleMania. With that being said, also I want to segue into Andrade and the whole tag match with Andrade, Garza, and Cedric Alexander and Ricochet. You have probably four of the most talented people. And I felt like the whole thing was a commercial to get the Street Profits over. And I felt that their commentary really actually demeaned the careers of Ricochet and Cedric Alexander, because I figured that they were there for baby face support. I felt more that they were there to put themselves over, and it wasn't very face-ish. It was more selfish. So, thoughts on those two?
Agreed. The Street Profits, to me, have been very back and forth in my mind. I think the Monday night updates or the weekend update parody that they're doing off of Saturday Night Live was damaging as hell. I do not find that version of the Street Profits appealing. I think when the Street Profits stay off the mic, in terms of a tradition or a non-traditional role, being on commentary, doing silly skits in the back, when they were first introduced, doing random raps about everything else that is going on other than what they want to do, and staring at the camera yet talking to each other, all that stuff was just awful. I really, really dislike that part of the Street Profits and their personality. It was very off-putting. It was, I think, sometimes playing into stereotypes. I did not like it. But the Street Profits I saw, the ones that are in matches against Seth Rollins, against Murphy, and this week too, I like their in-ring ability. Their genuine chemistry they have is very good. I like their especially Montez Ford, who is athletic as hell. I love his in-ring ability. Not taking that away. But yeah, on commentary, they're obnoxious. They're not likable. I don't need to hear about the smoke. I don't need to see the Red Cup thing. It's not my cup of tea. I see why people are kind of drawn to it. It's not my thing. But I don't see them losing the belts at Mania. I think I'd be very, very shocked to see them drop the belts. As far as Charlotte goes and the whole video package and all that, Charlotte continues to, and I don't know why they're trying to frame it this way, but how Charlotte feels that oh gosh, I'm losing the name. Yeah, Rhea Ripley. That she feels Rhea Ripley is trying to be like her. I mean, I never got that vibe. And actually, Rhea Ripley stated in her promo, or her video package, which I think it was 2 weeks ago now, that when she went to the stadium and she was looking around and this is going to be the place that this all takes place, and that at the beginning of her career, people compared her to Charlotte because of how her hair was and that she looked kind of like Charlotte and she wanted to be different. So she stated right off the bat she wanted to look and feel different than anybody, and particularly Charlotte. So for Charlotte to then turn around and say that, yeah, Rhea's trying to be like me. Well, no, she explicitly said she's not, and I don't know how in any way that Rhea Ripley is trying to be like Charlotte. With that said, I think this is going to be a match that could potentially rival and beat Baszler and Becky. I know many people are looking at Baszler and Becky as, the steal the show type of match for the women. I wouldn't let Charlotte and Rhea Ripley sleep on. I wouldn't sleep on the match, because that's a match that you could have easily steal the show. Charlotte and Rhea Ripley are more than capable of doing that, and I think it's a more organic story for these two. And honestly, I mean, having Charlotte win the NXT Championship, I think would be a breath of fresh air for the NXT women. And yes, Rhea Ripley is a great babyface champion, but if Charlotte was to go to NXT, imagine what that would do for the NXT women's division. Granted, they have a great women's division there, but again, I'm trying to train my brain into thinking that NXT is not this third brand. They're not this subpar brand. They are a brand that is indeed on par with Raw and SmackDown. So would I do it? No, I'd probably keep the belt still on Rhea Ripley because she's doing a great job. But the quality of this match, man, there is so much potential here. I'm really looking forward to this. And it's one that's been sadly, I hate to say swept under the rug, but it's almost an afterthought in terms of how WWE has been presenting it.
No, I want to see it push more. I agree with you. I think it could be a show stealer. I think Rhea Ripley can build her character more and more, and it's not that it's a bad character now, not by any stretch, but I think that she has so much more to offer. I think she's so young and so talented, and we just have scratched the surface on her. And not that Flair is some old timer, because she's been in the business 7-8 years. But she is so good. I think that we've got a very, very nice feud ahead of us. We might have it a couple more times, not forever, just maybe 2 more times. Spread it out.
I'm getting a little feedback from your mic. But so yeah, I totally agree. This is, again, people need to realize that this is I think in some ways a dream match for the women, with Charlotte versus Rhea Ripley, and the way that it happened was a little bit sloppy, with Rhea Ripley really being the aggressor to really bait Charlotte into accepting her challenge rather than the other way around. But nonetheless, we have this match, and I think again could be a match of the night in terms of the women, and I'm looking forward to it. So now let's see. I feel like I had another note, and maybe I just can't read my own handwriting, which is, that's right. We had a question, and I want to get to it on Twitter. So we had it, if it'll load here. It is from DJ Kuzmo. Hope I said that right. He asked us, what the hell is a Boneyard Match? Well, I think we answered that a little earlier. The answer is we have no idea, other than, Michael, you looked up the definition of what a boneyard is. So could it be that? Yeah, it could be, but I think your guess is as good as mine, DJ. And the other thing was, he said, here's a question for the show. Is it possible in the future that WWE can split WrestleMania into a 2-day event instead of compacting everything into one day? Oh, well, I think without even looking at those questions, I think we actually covered that. Quick answer is I think they could. I don't think it's likely, but they could use this year, if it's an overwhelming success, as a possible platform to split this into 2 days. But I think it's unlikely. So I think these are all the notes that I have. I feel like I'm missing something big. Is there anything that you had down, or that you were like, oh, we didn't talk about that?
No, I'm kind of perusing my notes right now. Basically, like I said, I've gotten some interesting. I've done some interesting research on what the potential is for WrestleMania, but I'll email your future shows on that as far as what some of the lineup ideas are, because it's kind of interesting how I thought I split up the day by day, day 1, day 2, whatever it's going to be. The only thing I have is I'd like to do a shout out and tell you that I saw the newest episode of The Dark Side of the Ring on Chris Benoit Part 1, and pretty powerful, really powerful. And obviously we're going to give DJ Kuzmo a shout out, and another one of the site's contributors, Aiden, who does Aid Russell, at Aid Russell on Twitter. He recently friended me, and I find it really awesome when other people who broadcast friend me, because that tells me that we're all listening to each other and we're all friends with each other and we all care about what each other's doing, especially for the site.
That's great. Yeah, I'm glad you guys are connecting. I really, I have a great team. You guys all do just such a great job. I'm very thankful for everybody who's making this show what it is, and I big plans for the show. I mean, I feel like we're just getting started, and again, that's great that you guys are connecting. And Twitter can be a very fun place. It can be a very scary place. It can be a very hostile place. But anytime you're able to connect with people on a topic and have an intelligent conversation, as we're having now, it's a great place. I mean, people really just discredit social media more than they should, and it's certainly a great place, and it will continue to be a very interesting place as we get closer to WrestleMania and have these empty arena shows that I think we're all going to have a new appreciation for live audiences once we get the all clear from your state and local governments that you can now, continue to live your lives again.
Absolutely, I agree. Like I said, my thoughts at the beginning, my thoughts go out to all of our people, all of our listeners, and it's not easy for anybody, but we just had to hunker down and help your common man, help your fellow man, please.
Absolutely. I mean, that's really the name of the game here. I think that we've heard it on the news, we've seen it on social media, but it's true. I mean, especially the more elderly people or people that have issues already going on, and they're the ones obviously who are the most impacted. And just stay home. I know it's not easy. Trust me, this is a mental job. It's very difficult to sit at home when you're somebody that's always on the go, and you're suddenly just stop in place and you can't go anywhere. It's just a mind job. But I think that, in the next few weeks, we may get guidance on at least, hey, here's the date we're tentatively looking at of possibly lifting these restrictions on bars and restaurants and work and travel and all this stuff that may slowly start coming back to us. I don't think it's going to be all at once. I don't think it's going to be a light switch. I think it's going to be kind of a volume knob where they just, okay, let's try this and this and this, and let's see what happens. I think that's going to be the way where life slowly comes back on with like a dimmer switch, for an analogy, rather than just like a light switch turning on. So that's my thought anyway.
No, I agree. It's going to be a slow acclimation, but we'll get it going. We'll get it going again. We're not going under. I got faith in that.
No, we're not. And we have WrestleMania 2 day, because WrestleMania is just too damn big for one day. Love how they're trying to sell that, and they cannot handle one day, even though they've been doing it for 35 years. This just put us over the edge, guys. 36, they just said, we're done. We can't deal with just a single day. We're going to do 2 because it's just too big. I love that. It's so vague, right? So, Michael, thank you so much for being on the show. Are there any final shout-outs or social media you want to share with anybody?
Like I said, you can always find me at @14captain on Twitter. I'll always answer your questions if you send me any. I always look forward to being on the show. It's always very humbling. I always love the fact that I get responses from our listeners from everywhere. When I find out that someone listened to us in Australia or the Netherlands, it blows my mind. So keep that feedback coming, because I need you guys as much as you need me right now. You don't really need me, but I want to entertain you.
Absolutely. I say that all the time too. I mean, I don't, this is my therapy too. I mean, I need this to talk to people outside of my 4 walls in my home here. I need you guys to talk wrestling with me, and it's always a blast to talk to somebody intelligently about it. And Michael, you're always welcome anytime on the show. It's always great having you, and take care of yourself, stay healthy, stay safe, and we will talk soon.
You too, sir. Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too.
Thanks for listening to the WWE Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe on your favorite podcast app so you don't miss a show, or head to WWEpodcast.com. And for all of these shows ad-free, head over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast. Until then, we'll see you next time.